Consistency is king with this spreader, and that's where it gets a huge win. Reloading. Oh my gosh, it never ended. Hey guys and gals, welcome to Garage Gear. I'm JB, and just so we're clear here, this video is not sponsored. This LANDZIE 24-inch compost and peat moss spreader belongs to a friend of mine, and he was kind enough to let me review it. This model's a few years old now, but not too much has changed on it since it came out. Let's dive into this hollow barrel and see what it's made of. This LANDZIE spreader is 24 inches wide by a 16-inch deep diameter barrel. Is it just me, or does this thing look like a giant bingo ball tumbler? It has a powder-coated steel framework, and the mesh basket is made of 3/4 inch by 1/2 inch diamond-shaped holes, allowing finely screened material to easily pass through. There's a swinging hinge door, which actually opens up pretty wide, allowing for easier filling. Now there's double locking clasps here to shut the door, and on newer models, they're on the side, which I think is actually a much better idea. This way, they're not taking such a beating on hard surfaces. Pretty simple up here with an ergonomic handle for easier pushing and pulling. Plus this handle you can disconnect and put it inside the barrel for better storage. So what's this good for? The LANDZIE spreader was crafted with a rotating drum with a mesh diamond cage. This allows for optimal filtration and even distribution of all your top dressing materials to help nurture your lawn. To use it, simply pour in your top dressing material, close the hinge door, and lock it to secure it. And then you're ready to roll. And to help this video roll out with the YouTube algorithm, would you mind hitting that like button? Thank you. And when you're finished using the spreader, simply open the latches and remove any unused material. Now, what exactly can you put in it? Compost, topsoil, peat moss, manure, even sand. Pretty simplistic tool. So if you're ready, I'm ready, let's roll. I decided to give this LANDZIE spreader a 10,000 square foot workout with 4 yards of compost. I'll get more into the details of the compost later in the video. Because I have a larger lawn, here's what I had to do with this spreader. First, I had to position it where I wanted it to go and then open the hatch. Then I had to go fill up the wheelbarrow full of compost. From there, I had to haul it over to the spreader and pour it in. I could fit about half of my wheelbarrow load inside, and then I simply closed it up and started spreading. And I had to do this procedure a lot. Now here's what I like about the LANDZIE 24-inch compost and peat moss spreader. Consistency is king with this spreader, and that's where it gets a huge win. It lays down 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch of product across the lawn consistently. Every pass laid the same amount down, which was really great. Next, instead of carting piles of compost all across my lawn like I'd done in the past, and then had to rake those piles all around for a better part of a day, this gal did all the work for me, and I barely had to touch a rake. Pushing and pulling a landscape rake around for hours on end is a ton of work. Got that right. Yep, and using a tool like this saved me a lot of hard labor. My back and shoulders were not even nearly as tired as compared to the time I used the landscape rake, which was really cool. Pushing and pulling was a pretty equal effort whichever way you went with it, which made setting up for your next pass a lot easier. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Even when it was fully loaded, it did roll fairly well, but going uphill did require some extra effort. I was also impressed with the durability of this LANDZIE spreader. Without a doubt, I beat this thing up just as much as it tried to beat me up. The metal clasps on top held tight, plus the unit is well built and sturdy. And just a few short years ago, the prices on these spreaders were through the roof, almost making buying one unjustifiable. Prices for these are now a bit more reasonable, which is a nice thing to see. What? Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Here's what grinds my gears with this LANDZIE spreader. Reloading. Oh my gosh, it never ended. After using the spreader a few times, I learned that I had to go up my lawn vertically because I know I could consistently get 2 passes. That's it. 2 passes. It emptied that quick. Then I had to reload, and I found that 1 wheelbarrow load equaled about 4 passes. If they could make this unit a little deeper, that would definitely help, but it would probably get significantly harder to push. They have wider units, but that just means you're gonna cover a wider pass or swath. They'll still empty at about the same rate. Then I had to deal with what was sifted and trapped inside. With every wheelbarrow load, I had to empty out the extra material, and that thicker material did start to pile up. Check this out. So now this is the part where we see what won't pass through this spreader, and this is only 1 pass right here. This is the first pass, so now we're gonna find out how much we have on the second pass. There we go. So right there, you can see what's not going through. And I have a feeling this is going to start to pile up pretty quick here. I decided to put any material that was extra that didn't pass through around my trees and my garden beds. Got a bit of a pile going with all this. It was pretty full. Here we
go. But what I'm gonna do is just spread this around my tree roots here, and it'll help the trees next season.
Which at the end of the day was kind of a pain to deal with because I had so much, about 2 wheelbarrow loads. Next, working on a slant. Now my lawn doesn't have much of a hill to it, but I found that when using the spreader laterally across my lawn, the material inside tended to shift to one side, leaving some bare spots behind. So you gotta kind of play the hill that you're on and go vertically up it in order to get the best dispersal of all your material. Knowing that, uphill battles are definitely a thing with this LANDZIE. Lastly, this is kind of an odd product because you have to ask yourself honestly, how much will you actually use it? I can confidently say that I would use this one time a year and then it would sit in the corner and collect dust for 364 days straight. I suppose I could use it in the spring using some peat moss to cover some bare spots out in the lawn, but that's about it. I have seen some big box stores rent these out, which is kind of a nice thing. That way you don't have to store it. You might even be able to find one of these used for a reduced cost. This is definitely a one and done tool, and you're better off splitting the cost with some friends or some neighbors and then letting one of them store it because it definitely takes up space in your garage. Did this spreader help me lay down a nice consistent layer of compost across my lawn? Yes. Did it save me from hours of raking? Yes. Did my body ache from using this thing? No. Is it durable? Yes. Was it a chore to constantly fill? Oh yeah. Super annoying. Will my lawn thrive because of this LANDZIE spreader? Definitely. I'll have this LANDZIE spreader linked down below in the description. Big shout out to my friend Matt for letting me review this LANDZIE spreader. Thank you very much. Now here's what I did leading up to using the LANDZIE spreader. Timing is everything, and here in my local area, it was a relatively dry fall. As soon as the rain began to return, I immediately mowed the lawn as low as I could comfortably go with it, knowing I wasn't going to be mowing for about the next 2 weeks. And once the lawn was completely mowed, it was time for grass seed. And this wasn't just any type of seed I threw down. This was the best of the best for a cool season lawn. I threw down Blackout Elite perennial ryegrass seed sent to me by my good friend Jesse over at Lawn Life right here on YouTube. Thank you very much, Jesse. Jesse has been a big fan of garage gear since the beginning, and he is the man when it comes to being on top of every current trend in the lawn care world. Everything from lawn care basics to nitrogen blitzing, even pre-germinating grass seed, this guy's got it down. He's done some pretty powerful stuff over on his channel, so check it out. And the grass seed in this bag is made up of Fireball and Hat Trick perennial ryegrass, which were rated as some of the darkest grass cultivars by the National Turfgrass Evaluation Program. They rate these cultivars based on overall quality, density, leaf texture, and color. And Fireball and Hat Trick came out on top. So now let's analyze this seed here a little further. Now this is about as pure seed as you can get. It says pure seed, and it's made up of 49.29% Fireball perennial ryegrass, then 49.29% Hat Trick perennial ryegrass. There is no other crop seed in this bag, and it has 1.42% inert matter. Now inert matter in a bag of grass seed is basically like little bits of seeds and maybe some broken stems, maybe. So we have a very tiny percentage here. And below that, what do we have? 0% weed seeds. So this bag is without question pure seed. Nothing else. I'll have Jesse's info and his website linked down below in the description so you can pick some of this seed up for yourself. Now, a few years back, I put this exact same seed down in the fall, and the following spring, when the lawn came out of winter dormancy, my lawn springed up a month in advance, noticeably darker green than all my other neighbors. So much so that all the surrounding neighbors were coming up to me and talking to me about it. So we have a grass seed here that greens up super quick, and it's noticeably darker, which made my spring lawn stripes really stand out. Germination with this seed is rapid to say the least, and I'll have more on that later. Now I threw this seed down heavy across my lawn. I figured, why not? Let's have some fun with this. I threw it down with my 2600 A+ spreader by Earthway, and I just went to town. Every square inch of my lawn got some, and then I covered it with compost. Now compost is quite possibly the very best seed covering out there. It's wildly nutrient dense, organic, and loaded with beneficial microbes for the lawn. I spread compost out of my lawn last fall, and I reaped the benefits of it all season long. My lawn stayed greener longer through the summer dry spell, which was pretty cool. And compared to my neighbors and how my lawn performed in the past in the summer months, my lawn really hung in there, and it hung in greener. I'll have my last composting video linked down below in the description. Now the compost that I ordered was made of mainly broken down leaves and some little twigs. It had a dark crumbly texture and an earthy smell. The company that I ordered it from had it finally screened down to about 5/8 or less, and they have some huge machinery on site to regularly turn their huge piles. It was fairly clean, and I only found a few wrappers hidden inside it. The compost was also noticeably lighter and fluffier. This made shoveling, loading, and transporting it a lot easier. It was even lighter than last year's pile, which was pretty cool. Now here's a few quick informative facts about compost from the conservation program at the school that I teach at. Compost promotes biodiversity by creating a healthy environment for beneficial microorganisms. And that's the big ticket. We're improving the soil. Compost improves water retention in soil, reducing erosion and runoff. So when it rains, it holds it longer. It reduces the reliance on synthetic pesticides and fosters natural pest control. Good, keep them out. Compost is rich in nitrogen, which is essential for leaf growth. It contains phosphorus, which is great for root development, and potassium in compost helps plants resist disease and drought. Helping out that NPK. Pretty cool. The calcium in compost helps strengthen plant cell walls, and it's loaded with trace elements like zinc, iron, and copper. The nutrients in compost are slow release too, which is nice because that prevents nutrient burn. And unlike synthetic fertilizers that you find at your big box stores, compost contains a full spectrum of micronutrients. And one of my favorite parts of compost, it naturally aerates the soil. You can go ahead and rent an aerator and poke holes all across your lawn, but compost will do it naturally, reducing soil compaction. Now, I've had some out there say, just throw down a bag of Milorganite. Well, Milo is good stuff, made of human poop. But if you put compost and Milorganite in the ring, compost comes out on top every single time. Compost improves your soil every single time you put it down, and it has far more micronutrients in it than a bag of Milorganite. The only two things that grind my gears with putting compost down across my lawn are, number one, it takes a long time to do. It took me about several hours to lay this all down across my yard. Even with the added convenience of the spreader, it still took a significant amount of time to get that product down and across the yard. And number two, I did have to spray my lawn a few more times in the summer for weeds that were popping up, because you don't know what kind of weed seeds are going to be in that pile of compost. It's the chance you take, but if you order your compost from a reputable place that regularly screens their compost, you're going to be in good shape. The LANDZIE spreader that I used to lay down this compost across my lawn did an excellent job covering all the seed perfectly. Once I was done spreading all that compost out, I did have to reach for the landscape rake to clean up a few piles. These little piles basically came from me loading the wheelbarrow into the spreader, and any excess that poured over the sides made some little piles. So the landscape rake did come in handy, but I probably only used it about 10 minutes on this entire job. After all the mowing, seeding, and compost spreading, it was time to water, baby. Water, baby, water. I did get a small amount of rain help some nights, but I did go out every single day and water. Because of my tight schedule, I watered every area of my lawn for 20 minutes. Water an area for 20 minutes, move the sprinkler. Water an area for 20 minutes, move the sprinkler. And I just kept doing that over and over and over again. And I did that every day for 10 days, unless it rained. After about 5 days, boom, germination. Every bare spot in my lawn was filling in. Super dense and dark too. You can still see bits of that compost in there. Look at all this over here. This all filled right back in. Girl, over here, you are looking fine. It's really nice to see all that hard work paying off. Now let's get a look at the results. Here is the lawn before compost, and here is the lawn after. It's now been 2 weeks, and my lawn is thicker, darker, and healthier. That compost I put down will continue to feed my lawn for months and months to come. It'll help my lawn stay stronger during times of stress and reduce my fertilizer costs over time. Plus, I feel a heck of a lot better knowing I can walk across my lawn because I overloaded it with loads of organic material rather than just another fertilizer. So if you want an organic lawn, compost is the way to go. For more cool garage gear content, click or tap the screen right here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the garage.